Princeton, serving Princeton and Caldwell County for over 100 years.
It's time for the Sideline Report with Princeton Times leader, sports editor Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY, and worldwide at WPKYonline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. Todd Griffin, the sports editor of the Princeton Times leader in the WPKY studios this morning, and a couple of guests in here with us this morning as David Brown, the Caldwell County Youth Incorporated president, is here, and Caldwell County stat guru, maestro Gary Goodacre in the house for today's show. Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah. I have that title for a short period of time. I don't know what my new title will be.
No, it sticks with you forever once you have it.
It's not going away.
Well, thank you.
It's not going away. You earned it. You
Well,
earned
thank
it. Absolutely.
Well, we do have a lot of things we want to discuss this morning. I want to talk about some of the things that Youth Incorporated has going on, and, of course, a busy week in sports. Tonight, the Kentucky 2A Championships for the first time at the Community Activities Building as Caldwell County hosts Paducah-Tillman. So, got lots of things going on. We do need to get to a break, though, before we get into everything and start talking about it and going full force. So we'll be back right after this.
Get spruced up with quality mulch from Bashir Sawmill on Dawson Road in Princeton. We all know that buying mulch by the truckload saves money, and it's only $25 per load for dark natural mulch at Bashir Sawmill on Dawson Road, 1/2 mile past City County Park. Bashir Sawmill also buys standing timber and timberland. Give them a call today, 270-365-2330. That's Bashir Sawmill, family owned and operated in Princeton for over 50 years.
Here's a reminder from your Princeton Electric Plant Board. Meter tampering is dangerous. Tampering with an electric meter is not only dangerous, it is dishonest and against the law. Stealing electricity by tampering with an electric meter may result in your arrest and can even risk your life. Tampering with meters results in increased utility bills that everyone has to pay. If you see anyone tampering with an electric meter, call the Princeton Electric Plant Board right away at 270-365-2031. Princeton Electric Plant Board, Princeton's #1 energy source.
The Sideline Report continues this morning on WPKY 1580 103.3. Again, David Brown and Gary Goodacre joining us in the studio this morning. And first thing I want to get to is had a Youth Incorporated meeting Tuesday night. And David, kind of fill us in on where we are as an organization moving forward with Youth Incorporated.
Well, you've been a big part of it, Todd. You really have. You and Gary both have played. You guys revived the entire program, along with, Jeff McDaniels and Bob Hayes and Dwight Meeks and Kyle Rogers and Brock Thomas, Melissa Thomas and Dustin Cash and
a lot of people.
Yes, we could go down the road. There's been a ton of folks that have kept things going and made things better for the next group. So I certainly can't take any credit for any of it, but it's an exciting time for us because developing our project list for 2019 and actually the 3 to 5 year plan. And so I had asked all of the board and committee members to bring in their top 3 projects that they wanted to see take place. Of course, excuse me, so much of it is predicated on funding and cash flow, but our best days are ahead of us, I really believe. When I don't know, Gary, think about your top 3 projects for out there too. That primarily, there's the maintenance aspect that is continuous. We've got to continue to take care of what we have and make certain that it's there for the next group. It seemed like the group as a whole wants to replace the wooden light poles with some steel poles.
Yeah, I don't see any way around that because the poles are going to have to be replaced, and to me, just putting new wooden poles up is going to create the same problem later. Where if you go with the steel poles, I mean, it looks to me like that just makes sense to do that.
I think you're right. I've told it several times in the meeting, and maybe even here as we've discussed it, but I drove by the park. That was the first place that I drove when we came into town, just because we've all spent so much time out there. I wanted to see what it looked like. And my wife and I both said, this is Pole City.
Yeah.
Because we've got so many wooden poles out there. And so it'll be a vast improvement to the aesthetics of it. I think the safety aspect is, without question, it's got to be our top priority to provide a safe environment for the families that use the park. And so, yes, the problem with steel poles is they're extremely expensive.
Yes. Well, and it not just needs to be a better facility and better situation with the light poles, but I think the lighting needs to be better too, and I think that's all part of that.
I agree. I think it's the lighting aspect, the safety of it.
Yeah.
We've all seen some kid lose a ball in the lights because they were low.
I've been that kid before.
Yeah, we've all done it. We literally have. And so if we can get the lights up a tad and provide more light, get some more foot candles on the field and in the park itself, so that people walking across the park are in a safe place.
Well, technology has improved aspect to lighting. Have you noticed in some of the NFL games how they can turn the lights off so quickly and turn them right back on? You're seeing those in arenas. The LEDs do not take as much time to activate and deactivate, and you can probably get more lighting per less pole if the geometry works out. Maybe you have in Tilly and Oliver, you can get one pole that can point lights to both. We already have that, but you might even need fewer poles if the lights are of a higher quality and last longer.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to point out, that you mentioned we have so many poles out there, and I think some of the smaller fields have 7 or 8 light poles, and I'm certainly not an expert, but I have been walking around ballparks and counting light poles for the last 2 years.
Yes.
At a lot of parks, especially a smaller field, most of the newer or more modern facilities have about 4 light poles. And again, if you look at some of our fields, I mean, it's just pole after pole after pole. So I think you could replace a lot of those poles and not have to buy as many new ones, is what it looks like to me.
Well, we certainly hope that's the case. We're going to bring in 2 different groups so that we can get an idea and do a light study. The LEDs are the deal. There's no doubt about that. It'll save money on our cost.
Yes.
In the long run. Now, the problem being they're directional, and so we can get more light on the fields, but that begs the question, hey, what do we do about this space out in the park? So, yeah, it's a great time, and one of the things that goes along with it, which I think we can address immediately, is burying the primary electrical supply to the park and get some of the wires out of there that go from pole to pole, and then tying in the different poles with secondaries. I don't think that's going to be a huge expense anyway, thanks to great volunteers like Randy Jordan and of course Dwight and Princeton Electric Plant Board. They're huge.
And we might be able to, as you talked about secondary light, find ways for directional light to be from the LED specifically to the playing surface, and having maybe smaller but sufficient light for safety. You don't have to have as much power to illuminate the walking areas and the play areas. So perhaps some of the lighting could be on smaller poles that are not ever designed to be playing surface poles, but still get light in those ancillary places in a different way.
You're the man. That's exactly what needs to take place. It's 110-foot candles is what we need in every square foot of a playing surface, and then we can go down to 50 or 60 in the other area. You're right about that.
And you talk about putting the wires underground. That would just make the park look so much cleaner.
Yes, no doubt about it. As the new trees are planted and come up, as we do our tree memorial program through the spring, I think we'll have a much greener space. I think we'll have a much cleaner space, and I look forward to this. I mean, it's a dream come true for me.
Well, there are a lot of cosmetic things that we've talked about. One thing that I would like to see is for us to maybe tile those ditches that are out there, and then maybe have a park where there aren't any ditches, and then those tiles can just carry the water away from the fields and maybe make for a better playing surface too.
Well, that was one of my pet projects when I first came on the board, and we've gotten some prices for it. It is pricey. There's no doubt about it. Anytime you're starting to deal with steel for the drainage tile. I saw a lady attempt to walk across the ditch, going to the concession stand from the high school baseball field. She was from a fan from the opposing team, and it was like quicksand from Gilligan's Island, man. I mean, she marred up halfway up her calf and had no idea, and so you run over there and try to pull her out. And so, yes, it's a definite need. I think it'll reduce the mosquitoes that, occasionally have to be dealt with, and I want to see that. I know that was on your list. There's even one of them talked about adding a field or two out there, and that would be exciting for me. A new playground is essential in order to incorporate the whole family experience at the park. And so I'm certain of the fact that we're going to see those things take place.
Well, a new field would, I think, fit in great just over by the softball field now where the Lady Tiger softball team plays. And, of course, you'd have to remove that concrete slab over there where the old Tressler building was. But I think that would add to the ballpark. And you mentioned a playground. I would like to see a playground out there that is more centrally located in the park facility instead of right by the road.
Well, that is, as far as doing a site safety analysis, there has to be some level of barrier for someone that if a pedophile, God forbid, or some idiot, let's say that maybe it's a domestic dispute, whatever, who knows, but where the playground is currently located, someone could stop right there, grab a child, and literally be on I-24 before someone actually missed them, and
then you could be anywhere from there.
Yes.
It's a snatch and grab situation. That's why you have, when you have those things, you want to make sure that they have to go enough of a distance that there's a reasonable possibility that multiple people could hear, see, because it takes humans time to react. Because when you see something like that, your first instinct is, this can't be happening. You've got to be able to process that situation. And that's going to be helpful to have it in such a location for another park. I think that you're going to have more opportunities for tournaments. We're one park away from being able to really host bigger tournaments, and I think that opportunity would exist with the playground facility being upgraded and relocated. That one park, of course, if it's there over by the Lady Tiger, it would be of the smaller size variety, but that's where your target audience for travel probably is 8, 10, and even 12-year-olds.
Well, and Gary has a lot of experience in that because he actually did the schedule a lot of years, not just...
I would like another park.
Yeah, not just for
make my life
Caldwell,
easier.
but for the entire league.
Yes.
He did that for all the communities, and, I don't think people understand when you're trying to put all that together that there are only X number of ballparks, and you can't play more games than you have facilities to play them, and there are only X number of days in a week, and when you're trying to fit a whole season into about 12 weeks, it's
my wife
difficult.
My wife would always ask me when people would say, why is the schedule this way? My simple answer was, says math.
Yeah.
There's only so many slots, and you can't make up more than you're allotted. I was given a start date, I was given an end date, and I was given parameters, and you had to get really creative. We even had to have games that were Trigg versus Dawson played in Caldwell.
Right.
Now, granted, that was facilitated because that was the farthest drive, and they were both willing to do so, but what people don't realize was that was necessary for the math, too.
Well, it even comes into play when you're trying to reschedule games after it rains, and the last several years, that's kind of been an issue, and it's difficult to make up games because there's no park available because you've got regularly scheduled games already on every field.
Well, and that I thank God for you all making the schedule, because it would be near impossible for me to try and do that. And no parent wants to be out at the park at 11 o'clock at night. and we've all experienced that.
Try 1:30 a.m.
Yes, I'm certain of it. But it's that would actually, from a tourism standpoint, from a parks and recreation view, it would be huge for us to get another field.
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody on the board is, pretty much unanimous as far as the improvements they would like to see, and pretty much everybody's mentioned the new light poles would be great.
Yes.
Putting the wires underground, tiling the ditches. It's probably not one of the most pressing things, but I think it would make the park look a whole lot better.
Absolutely.
And the playground. One thing though we'd like to hear from everybody else, because what we think might be the most pressing issues might not be what everybody else thinks the most pressing issues are. And there's been a lot of Facebook chatter back and forth, and sometimes you see people say, well, they don't like the way the ballpark looks or the way it's run or whatever. And I've been going out to the ballpark since I played out there in the 1970s, and it's probably as nice and as clean and as functional as a facility right now as it's ever been. However, a lot of us still have big plans. You got to pay for it, and that always is the issue. But it's certainly not where all of us want it to be. But for the people who say that there are things wrong, well, we'd like to hear those so that we we can address those.
Absolutely. At no point in time, I honestly believe that the entire board wants input from the community. It's their park. It's their park. There's no doubt about that. We simply try and maintain and run the leagues. But, one of the improvements was staining the new wooden fences that are there. And Councilman Brian Conger and one of the volunteer groups had it planned, but, weather got them this fall. And so if there's a volunteer organization that wants to work on one of the projects, we'd love to have it. If there's an excavation company that just wants out of the kindness of their heart to come and fill in one of the ditches with a tile,
It's the end of the year. There's tax write-off opportunities.
Yes, there's tax write-offs, and you know what? We're happy to make it known that those people play a part, because there are a ton of volunteers that do a tremendous job there. But we can always use more, and we want to know what projects they want.
And it can always be better. I mean, I think that's the philosophy, that no matter where you get to or how good it gets, you want to keep trying to make it better and better.
And there are the aesthetics. There's the physical plant. We've talked a lot about the lights and the tiling and the staining of the wood, and those are important. But you also have to have structural situations. I think that the CCDL/labs was necessary in the sense that there was no other viable way, but how do you make it work? Just because 4 or 5 communities say, we've got to join together, you still have to put together a product based on communities that have maybe played a little bit different, that Lyon would do one thing and we did another and Trigg did another, but if we're going to all work together, you have to have structure, rules, schedule. I mean, you can't just make the schedule the old way you always did it, because you have to consider other communities' facilities usages, other facilities that are not maybe the same sizes as ours. So you have to think, how many parks do they have that can play certain teams? It was difficult, but I think that most of the kids and parents, if you ask them, they don't mind going to Marion once or twice. They don't mind going to Lyon. The kids, honestly, I think get up more for a game against another county than their own. So we've had to make both physical and, I guess you could say, structural changes to how this organization works, and I think it's worked very well.
Well, there are a lot of things going on. Even at the meeting Tuesday night, it was discussed that maybe at some point in the future, new restroom facilities.
Yes.
Still not sure exactly where everything stands as far as the school getting the big field or the softball field. Those things are still being talked about, and it's kind of in limbo, but I think everybody is trying to work toward getting to where Caldwell County could host regional tournaments again in baseball and softball. And you have to have the steel light poles. You have to have the restroom facilities. You have to have the right concession area facilities, like I said,
Parking.
bleachers, parking, all those things. And it's just going to take a lot of work to get there.
Well, it's going to take work, it's going to take money, and it's going to take some bit of patience, which I'm not good at having. But and I'm hoping that my dream is to have an indoor pavilion out that way, sort of in the Tressler area for the farmers market, but use that as well as a picnic pavilion with indoor kitchen. Have restrooms over there. Of course, the playground being more toward the center of the park. The aesthetics of it with just landscaping and shrubbery. If someone wants to adopt an area to landscape, and we've got to have signage. We've got to have some signage out there to note, hey, this is Ratliff Park and this is Settle Field, and so that people know we've got the numbers and people around here know. But like Gary said, bringing in people from other communities, and with the park growing and sort of changing its face, then all of those things have got to take place.
And it's even been discussed about a walking trail maybe from Big Springs Park to the ballpark, and I think that would make everything more accessible and give people another reason to go to the ballpark.
You got 2 people that are working on grants right now for a walking trail. There's complications once you get off the county and school property, if you would. But I see it happening, and I see it happening fairly soon. A walking trail around the perimeter and throughout the park. And that adds another aspect that's important to me. Simply, it became personal when my father couldn't walk from a car to the fields. We must become ADA compliant so that someone that has a physical disability has access to the field where their loved one is playing. And the walking trail creates a part of that opportunity. It opens up a whole host of possibilities for us.
Well, a lot of things going on at the ballpark, and like I said, the biggest thing is getting the funds for it, and hopefully we can figure those things out. And again, if somebody has some ideas, when you're scrolling through Facebook, I would much rather see somebody list 4 or 5 things that they would like to see improved, other than just I don't like the ballpark. That doesn't really. I mean, that's fine. That's your opinion, but that doesn't really help anybody, try to make it any better for you.
No, solutions are always better than pointing out problems. And we hadn't mentioned, or I didn't and failed to, we've already contracted to have the surface on, is it the Oliver Field, have it changed.
Yes, the small one.
So that we can have a dirt infield and it become more standardized for some of the other communities and open up the possibility for some tournaments.
And believe it or not, I think they'll be signing people up, Youth Incorporated, probably for baseball and softball and t-ball, maybe even the very end of next month. They usually start around the 1st of February. It sounds like it's so far off, but it really isn't. The calendar's turning soon.
No. We have tentatively contracted with a group called Cross the Seams to come in and do coaches training. They're going to also, we have the ability now to have drills online for coaches to use, a standardized format for coaches so that everything improves when our coaching improves. The quality of play. We'll take care of the fields and do the very best that we can. Thank God for Ray Mitchell and his guys and Dwight Meeks and the others that go out and spend hours watering and working on things. God bless them, and God bless them all. But it takes our volunteer coaches. We've got to raise the bar there so that our program and the quality of play continues to improve.
One of the other issues, though, and Gary kind of touched on how quickly the season jumps on you, but it seems like we try to fit an entire youth baseball and softball season into a very tight window. Yeah. And you could say, well, start earlier, but weather-wise, a lot of times you simply can't. You can't go longer because everybody wants to be done by the end of June. so that they can have their all-star teams and those kind of things and go play those games throughout the month of July. So really, and again, Gary fought this when he was doing the schedule, you're trying to fit all those things into about a 12-week window, and it seems like a long time, but, when you're talking about just playing one league Monday and Thursday and the other league Tuesday and Friday, it doesn't leave a whole lot of dates in there to get in a whole bunch of games sometime.
Plus registration. You got to get every community registered. You have to get every community's team selections done. You have to get uniforms ordered. There are so many links in the chain that anytime there is a break, you end up with what would be considered a delay. So when people would come to me and say, why are you signing up so early? I tried to explain how many sequences have to be met just to get a season started, and it's really intense. That's why you have to be registering in February.
And now you've got 5 communities that are trying to get all those things done to get the season started, and it's just a difficult situation, and it's tough to fit everything in.
Well, you guys have been absolutely incredible, because you can't get 5 people to agree on one thing, much less 5 communities. It's a testimony of complete success with what you all have done with the CCDL. And, excuse me, because of your all's expertise, because of your all service, it has given us here in Princeton the opportunity to sort of be the hub of that. That does so many things. That gives us at Youth Incorporated the opportunity or the pressure. It applies the pressure to raise our standards so that we can meet the other communities' level of facilities. It brings people to town to eat. People have no idea what all goes into what you all have done and how it impacts our community. And I think the future is bright.
All right, we need to get to another break. Anything else you want to add on Youth Incorporated while you're sitting here and we have a chance?
You know that I will. I'll save it for another time. There's other projects. We want to hear your projects. Concession stand changes are coming. People will be tickled to hear that, but we'll talk about it another time so you can get the people that pay the bills in.
All right, good deal. We'll be back with more right after this.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Expect some rain in the forecast for today with a high getting near 55. Rain overnight with an overnight low around 46. Rain and thunderstorms tomorrow, high near 52. Rain and thunderstorms Friday night with an overnight low around 45. More rain on Saturday with a high near 50, and a 20% chance of rain continues overnight Saturday night with mostly cloudy skies and a low around 36. Again, that's rain likely today with a high near 55.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Raider Auction Company.
Ready or not, the holidays are here, so don't forget the best gift under the tree. At Perry's Floors and More, they can replace that old worn-out floor with a new floor that will add warmth and style to any room in your home. At Perry's Floors and More, you can choose from luxurious designer carpets, beautiful luxury vinyl plank or luxury vinyl tile floors, and real hardwood that will stand up to the wear and spills of your holiday guest. Whichever floor you choose will be backed by reputable manufacturers and installed with expert care. Go see Bill and Lucy at Perry's Floors and More, 127 West Market Street, Princeton, and get the best gift under the tree.
This is Brad Harrelson, a financial advisor with Encompass Wealth Management. I have been partnered with the Woodall Insurance Agency for the past 13 years. In just the same way the Woodall Agency has worked hard to be your local insurance agent, I want to be the person you think of for your financial advice. So give me a call at 365-5541 or stop by our office in Princeton to discuss your financial future. You'll be glad you did.
All right, we're back on the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY on a Thursday morning. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about Dave's Deal of the Week at U-Ride in Princeton. It's a 2010 Dodge Charger, white in color, 127,000 miles, just $7,500. Again, that's a 2010 Dodge Charger, white in color, just $7,500. Contact Dave at 270-365-3215. That's 270-365-3215. You Ride 310 Marion Road in Princeton. David Brown and Gary Goodacre in the studio with us this morning on the Sideline Report, and some good discussion on Youth Incorporated. And again, just one more time, if somebody has some ideas, and if you're doing the Facebook thing, be constructive with your ideas, and blanket statements don't really help anybody. Just let everybody know what you would like to see, and if it's something we've talked about, that's great. If it's not, that's great too. I'm sure Youth Incorporated would love to hear it and be able to address those things. Well, it's the Christmas season, and I gave you guys a little heads up on this one, but coming up this Saturday at the Capitol Cinemas downtown, I believe a free Christmas showing of A Christmas Story, one of my favorite movies. So wonder what you guys, your favorite Christmas movie or show, David? Gary, which one of you wants to go first? Either one of you.
Are you loaded and ready, Gary?
Not really, but I'll go. I just love watching a Charlie Brown Christmas. I end up quoting it throughout the year. Even in June, something will come up. I'll say something like, "Wasn't such a bad little tree." Even just a tree out in driving by. And there's so much meaning to it, and it's lasted the test of time. I've got it on the DVD. I could pop that in any time of the year. That would probably be my show. As for movies, I guess I'm product of my generation. Christmas Vacation came out when I was in high school, and there's just too many good lines you can just quote any time, and the frustration that you can feel through Clark, through life, and getting you down. You think you've got everything for everybody, and you realize that you just don't, and you have to deal with it sometimes. And I could quote Christmas Vacation as well. Those are probably two that a lot of people like, but those hit home for me real easily.
I think I've already watched Christmas Vacation about 3 times this year. So it just, 1st of December, it's on the TV and it's on everywhere.
My wife hates those slapstick comedy movies, and I'm telling her, look, this got some deeper stuff in it. I said, see if you can find it, because she won't let me watch it, like if we're sitting together. She doesn't want to see it. It's one of the best ever. I can personally relate, because I guess I'm probably like Cousin Eddie, but
we all have a Cousin Eddie. And if you don't have a Cousin Eddie, you're Cousin Eddie.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
We watched a good one the other night, The Christmas Candle. That was a really sweet movie. It had a great story. The acting was good. So I was impressed with it. It's of course, I'm older than you guys, but It's a Wonderful Life is probably Miracle on 34th Street. Those are probably my favorites. Now I won't, I'll get Leanne to sit down, and we'll all end up watching Christmas Vacation. But we always watch those two, It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street.
Which is the cartoon that has the heat miser?
I don't know.
Is this one of your Twitter? Is this one of your Twitter?
No, this is actually a thing. I'm going to have to look that up now, because I've drawn a blank myself.
Let us know.
Are you getting some info on the text
No,
line
I was
there?
hoping so, but have to go to the internet later and check all that out.
Yes.
I'm just so thankful that neither one of you listed Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, because that's the saddest Christmas show I've ever seen. And it's a cartoon.
I haven't seen it. I need to watch it.
No,
it's sad.
Yes, it's too sad.
Nestor
the Long-Eared Christmas
the
Donkey.
Long-Eared Christmas Donkey. Okay. Well, we'll
put that on our list, David.
Yeah,
now everybody's going to go watch that.
Yeah,
I told
it
them not
is. The
to.
whole town's going to cry.
There's plenty of good opportunities now that the things are winding down. We're hoping that we can get some good Elf time. You're going to watch Elf again?
Oh, yeah, I love Elf.
You like Elf?
Yeah.
You want to drink that 2-liter straight? That's pretty vicious.
Well, there's just so many movies out there and so many things that you can watch, and it seems like there's more anymore. I mean, you go to
Hallmark, you can watch all day.
They're all over the place.
The Heat Miser was on The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Oh, thank you.
There it goes.
That's one of my favorite ones, but I haven't watched it in a while, and the older I get, the more I lose brain capacity.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
All right, favorite songs. I told you guys to be ready for this too. And, I mentioned on Twitter the other day that one of my favorite Christmas songs is the 12 Days of Christmas by the McKenzie Brothers. But I'm not sure if anybody else remembers that. But, I like most Christmas music. Actually, there's some good country Christmas music out there. Alabama has a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Christmas in Dixie's really good. I like all of it.
I found one last night that I had never heard before. There's an old song called Hallelujah, but a group called Cloverton changed the lyrics to the Christmas story, and it's very moving. I'd recommend you hit up YouTube and listen to that. Both well done technically, but the story is fantastic. So Cloverton, you should look that up sometime today and listen. I think it'll be very, very touching to you.
It's amazing how it this season has engulfed us over the years, and there's a ton of great music. There's a ton of great movies, fun and deep. I love the Christmas carols. Silent Night, Oh Holy Night. But my wife has worn me out. She's got this CD by Amy Grant. And I don't know, it's got 20 Christmas songs on it. And Amy Grant's incredible. She's awesome. But she makes us listen to it from December the 1st, all the way through. It's all we can listen to in her van. And so when I get out, I turn on WPKY or K-Love. And the Engelbert Humperdinck has an incredible Christmas CD. I'll have to get you all a copy.
Well, and if you want to go an entirely different direction, there's an entire Twisted Sister Christmas album.
No way!
Yeah, they actually recorded a Christmas album, and it's not bad.
I can believe that.
So if you want
Is
to
this a recent?
The last 7 or 8 years, I think.
Mary, did you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dee Snider's got to get work. That's for certain.
I'll have to.
So check that out. You can go online and check that out, I'm sure.
Well,
okay.
Well, my day is done now. Got to put that on the list.
We're going to pull it up.
Yeah, there are no Star Wars-themed Christmas songs out there?
I just don't watch the holiday special. It'll mess your mind up. That's truly one of the most horrible waste of my time I've ever seen. Just take my word for it. You want nothing to do with it.
And waste of talent, because Art Carney is in that thing, and he's like one of the greatest actors, comedians, funniest people on the face of the planet ever. But, man, that is bad. I mean, I think even the Star Wars people claim
they deny that it
exists.
exists. Yes, they'll just straight-faced tell you it doesn't happen.
So if you're keeping count at home, do not watch Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, and do not watch the Star Wars Christmas special, right?
It's brutal.
Okay.
Truly brutal.
It's bad.
All right, we got some more sports we want to talk about, but we got one more break we got to get to, so we'll be back right after this on the Sideline Report on WPKY.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Expect some rain in the forecast for today with a high getting near 55. Rain overnight with an overnight low around 46. Rain and thunderstorms tomorrow, high near 52. Rain and thunderstorms Friday night with an overnight low around 45. More rain on Saturday with a high near 50, and a 20% chance of rain continues overnight Saturday night with mostly cloudy skies and a low around 36. Again, that's rain likely today with a high near 55.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Fredonia Valley Bank.
Mrs. Abernathy, some things are meant to be shared. Others are not, like these new loaded nachos. They're meals worth of chips topped with sirloin steak or pork carnitas that I plan on keeping to myself.
But I need your name for the yearbook.
My name is Coach. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's my nacho time.
But
nacho time. Nacho time. Shh. Nacho time. Olay the day, Gertie.
Try our new loaded nachos topped with sirloin steak or pork carnitas. Olay the day at Taco John's.
Taco John's, Princeton.
The Sideline Report rolls on WPKY 1580 103.3. Todd Griffin in the studio with David Brown and Gary Goodacre this morning, and lots of sports going on. And first of all, I want to talk about the Kentucky 2A Championships coming to the Community Activities Building tonight. That's a brand new event. Both Caldwell County teams will be playing Paducah Tillman at the Cab. Girls at 6, boys about 7:30. Some big games there with Paducah Tillman's teams coming in. Both of those teams are pretty good. And if you look at the draw for that Kentucky 2A championship, and by draw, I think this was more a placement of teams in the bracket than a true draw, because just looking at it, it looks like they tried to pair up teams so that nobody had a really crazy drive. And, well, just to give you some background, it's the Section 1 tournament, which includes schools the Class 2A size, roughly, the schools that don't qualify for the All-A Classic but have less than 1,000 students. So from Regions 1 through 4, that is 12 teams. And so we have first-round games coming up, a couple of them tonight. Caldwell County hosting Tillman, like I said. Warren Central goes to Franklin Simpson. On Saturday, Trigg County travels to Warren East, and Union County a little bit later on January 5th will go to Callaway County in first-round action. Hopkins County Central, Glasgow, Webster County, and Allen County Scottsville all drew first-round byes. The Tillman-Caldwell winner will advance to play at Webster County at a date to be determined. So it's not the All-A Classic, it's the Kentucky 2A Championships, and since Kentucky doesn't have classes, the schools decided to make them themselves.
Well, it'll be that's going to be a great atmosphere tonight. That's going to be a really, really good game. I've tried to tell my kids how special the Sweet 16 is, and this can create that level of excitement as it grows and develops. It's a good event,
and it's going to go to, I think, baseball in 2021 and soccer in 21-22. So this has aspirations to be beyond basketball. And one thing I noticed, I may have to listen to you again. You read 12 teams?
Yes,
all public.
I read it right.
All public, correct?
Well, I think it just worked out that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that it was.
Right.
Yes. Not that it was designed that way. But what's interesting is what I think is an inequity of the All-A Classic is that the privates who have a bigger group of people to draw from, but because of their enrollment small, they get to be in the All-A and dominate, where they're really not, equal in the setup to a public who is of that size. But it just worked out that way. I know DeSales, for example, was allowed to be in it because they fit the enrollment, but they are one of the few privates, because most privates are either really small or, like Trinity, really big.
A little impressive the way they were able to put this thing together so quick, because the Kentucky 2A Championships on Twitter this week put out a little thing about their timeline.
Yes,
and,
I saw that.
It said it was November 30th of last year when they sent out an email gauging interest from schools in having a 2A championship. Their first committee meeting was in January earlier in 2018. Made the commitment to the 2018-19 season at the end of January, partnered with the city of Owensboro back in March to host the inaugural Kentucky 2A Championships in basketball, and here we are. But for Caldwell County, it was a bit of a godsend, because this is the first year Caldwell's been out of the All-A Classic. I think we've talked about it on the show before, that Caldwell was always one of the largest schools, maybe a year or two, the largest school in the All-A Classic. Now you go to being one of the smaller schools in the 2A thing. It's kind of like football, and it gets confusing talking 2A, 3A, 1A, all these things, because it's not equal all the way across in all sports. It's not the same enrollment, but for football, when they were in Class 2A, again, one of the bigger Class 2A teams in the state, schools in the state. And then when you went to 3A, Caldwell County was one of the smaller 3A schools, but still able to compete and do well. And, I think this 2A championships is going to be great for the schools that, quite frankly, because they're a little smaller, have a little difficulty competing with either the larger schools or the private schools at the top of their region. But maybe this is something they can, have a shot in.
I think All-A in baseball, was a very good experience. It hit the right time for a very good group of players, your sons included. And I think that 2A could be the same thing for us, because if you look at those schools, we've been competitive with many of them that we've played. I mean, we don't play Warren Central and AC Scottsville, but of the ones in the regions 1 and 2, we've been competitive with them in sports, both in baseball and soccer and basketball. So I think we'll be an energetic player in this tournament. We'll be someone that has the opportunity, when the when the rosters are right, to make noise and actually give the kids a good experience, because that's what this is about. It's about giving them a tournament atmosphere for which they have a reasonable shot of success.
I think it raises the bar of our quality. Anytime you can create competition and it drives us to be better. And so, yes, we've been competitive, but if we can keep the heat on, then it requires us, if we want to compete, to continue to be better. So it's a great venue.
Caldwell County and Paducah Tillman tonight at the Cab. A tough draw. As I said, I think teams are just kind of placed on there to make things simple for travel. Just, it looks like everybody's kind of paired up that way. I'm not really sure, but that's at least kind of what it appears to me. But I think this is going to be great, but a tough draw for the local teams because, again, you got Paducah Tillman, and then if you win that game, you get to go to Webster County, and especially on the girls' side, Webster County probably the best team in the region this year, overall in the second region, and Webster County boys, one of those teams, kind of like Caldwell. There's a lot of teams after University Heights and then maybe Madisonville and maybe Hoptown and Christian County that are going to be jockeying for that spot behind them. Of course, Lyon County is there, and so are a whole lot of schools. And Caldwell County owns a win over Webster County on the boys' side already, which was a really good win.
Yes.
Lyon County rallied the other night to beat Webster County in overtime.
Yes.
And speaking of the Caldwell County boys basketball team, they got off to a little bit of a rough start this season at 0-2. But the last couple of times out, nice wins. The Webster County win was a good one. And then went up to Muhlenberg County in the third region, picked up a great overtime win up there, and just a thrilling game that, it was almost like a playoff game or postseason game. And a lot of times when you leave your region, you don't always get the friendliest calls from the officials. But I thought that game was called, pretty straight up, and Caldwell County was able to make some shots there at the end and get a stop or two on defense, and that was the difference in I think it was 70-68 overtime victory for the Tigers.
Our guys are fun to watch.
Yeah,
they really are. I've enjoyed watching them, and it's a good group. They play hard. I've really enjoyed it. So I'd encourage anybody to get out tonight. That will be an incredible atmosphere.
Want to mention a few other things. The Armstrong Tiger Classic Wrestling Tournament is this Saturday at the Cab. I think they're going to try to get underway about 9 o'clock. 10 teams competing in that. Congratulations to Katie Franklin. She'll be playing softball at Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky, I believe.
So.
Yeah. So just a whole lot of Lady Tigers getting to go play college softball. And, it seems like as a school, Caldwell County has had a lot of people sign and have opportunities to go play college sports. And it wasn't always that way,
No.
We used to have maybe one or two a year, and now it seems like there's a whole bunch, and we've even got some more signings coming up in the next week and the next month or so. So congratulations to all the athletic programs at Caldwell County for those things, because that's a big deal to get to go play college sports.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
I think sometimes you have to see it happen before you believe it can happen. Now that there is a set of standards that the people have been working for, because now you go, I can play at Murray, I can play at on Rend Lake, I can play at Frontier like some of ours are, or Asbury. I think our younger kids see that, and Todd, you publicize it well, so that is helpful also. These kids at an earlier age are looking. I've got an 8th grader. Now he looks and goes, well, maybe I can do it. I've got to work hard, but maybe in 4 years that'll be me. So you've got to believe through the faith of seeing it and having coaches who are willing to work and make those connections for you too. They've got to vouch for you. They got to know people, and they've got to be able to adequately analyze your talent level.
They've done a great job breaking the glass and,
yes.
and raising it and creating the opportunity. It's I'm proud of all these kids that they've worked hard and they're getting their opportunity. And you get to thinking about having an education paid for.
Oh yeah,
because it's not cheap. Now, hopefully they won't stay in college as long as I did, but it's a real boost. And those kids have earned it.
Well, and one of those kids, Eli Pepper, played at Louisville last night for Lipscomb. The Cardinals got him 72-68, but Lipscomb made a good showing. Eli had 6 points and 3 rebounds in that game, and another shot or two falls, and Lipscomb may have gotten a big upset at Louisville. And, of course, Kentucky is looking at that Louisville game now. Before the season, I think everyone thought, well, Kentucky will roll in that game and pick up a big win. Right now, Kentucky is in a little bit of turmoil. Quade Green, guard, announced that he's transferring just yesterday. The Cats lost at Seton Hall, have struggled a little bit. Now, of course, it's still the middle of December, so it's not time to panic. However, that game at Louisville now looks a whole lot more like a toss-up or maybe a slight advantage to Louisville than it did going into the season.
Well, I'm still disappointed that Coach Cal hasn't extended a scholarship offer to Kiki Tandy. When we've got shooters in Lexington, we have success. If we don't have shooters, it's going to be a Sweet 16 trip. They'll get it together, but yeah, the Kentucky-Louisville game is going to be great. And Eli, even you think 6 points, 3 rebounds, but he did stuff that didn't go on a stat sheet. Yeah. I really thought that he played pivotal parts throughout that game. So that was a really, really good game. Really good game.
Again, it was close all the way. Lipscomb had a shot. I think they got to within 1 point late.
Yeah.
So that was a really good game for them. And Lipscomb's a tournament team from last year. They were in the NCAA tournament. I mean,
and they're returning almost everybody, if not I think they're very, very little loss. So obviously, though, they're in a one-bid league, though.
Right.
That's the thing. They could go 25-4, and then they've still got to win that tournament. So this is the thing that you have to deal with when you're a Murray State.
Right.
What did they win, 27 games one year and didn't get in?
They did.
That is part of what you know going in when you sign up for that. But he's getting an excellent education from a wonderful school, Eli Pepper, and I think he's got great things ahead of him in life. He's a wonderful person, and that's a great representation when you see people like that on the ESPN and when you see Princeton, Kentucky under it. The kids are watching, and they think, maybe I can do that at some level.
And Murray State, they rolled over SIU, and Kentucky beat them by, 10? And Murray State just rolled.
If it was a high school, they'd probably have to run and clock that game after the first half. It was nasty.
42-18 or something.
It's close.
Well, as David asked earlier, who is the best team, the best college basketball team in the Bluegrass State right now? It'd be
it's
interesting.
Up for grabs.
Yeah.
I think we'll find out at the UK U of L. It's, I'm all for Murray. I think Murray's got the best guard in the state. I don't think there's any question about that.
Don't sleep on Western Kentucky, though.
Yes.
A win over Arkansas the other night. So
yes.
That's a hard place to get a win anywhere. Kentucky has struggled at Arkansas over the years.
Just one more thing before we wrap up the show. You mentioned Kiki Tandy and, of course, going to Xavier. Did you guys see the dunk?
The viral dunk?
Oh, my gosh, against Hopkinsville.
The chin.
Yes.
Chin on the rim.
He needed stitches in his chin because he hit his chin on the rim dunking on a kid from Hopkinsville.
The 7'2". Is it Sharp is his name?
I'm not sure.
Yes,
but
7'2".
Yes.
And you know how Hopkinsville's gym is. Somebody had it from right behind the backboard because you can sit there, and that happened to be the one he dunked on. You get a really good view of his elevation there. You can easily just Google Kiki Tandy dunk, and you're going to get it.
It's a great jumping floor, but yes, to be able to get up that high, my God.
Yeah, go to Tyler Dixon's account
he can
of the
get you
Kentucky
that.
New Era on Twitter. He had those things, and I think I retweeted one of those things on my account at Todd Griffin-100. So check that out. It was pretty impressive. He got up a long way, and again, I'm not sure why Kentucky doesn't want some of those Kentucky kids like that, but I don't know. Kid's an incredible player, and University Heights right now looking like the best team in the second region.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for coming in
today.
Thank
you, Todd. We appreciate it.
That's Gary Goodacre. That's David Brown. We appreciate them joining us this morning. And thanks to everybody for listening to the Sideline Report. Have a great day. Thanks for listening on 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Serving Caldwell County since 1950. We're 1580 103.3 WPKY Princeton.
President Trump making his first comments
from the Kentucky News
Network.
I'm Jaleesa Chapman. A bill that would legalize industrial hemp is on its way to the president's desk.
Among other things, the Farm Bill will remove hemp from the list of controlled substances. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell